How's it going, Reef Keepers? You will have to excuse this incredibly ugly tank right here. I decided that this tank needed to be totally redone, so my kid and I are redoing the tank with a totally different goal in mind. I did just put this DMP-10 on it, and you can see the amount of detritus that it is blasting out of the rockwork on the tank. Highly disturbing. So, yeah, this tank is going to be totally redone soon enough. Don't worry. But today I wanted to talk about this DMP-10 because I have put it through its paces on this tank, and I have noticed a few things about it. So first and foremost, I will say I have had a smattering, just a few people say, hey, I'm getting some noise off of just the DMP-10 unit, not the DMP-20, 30, or 40, just this DMP-10. And I was like, all right, I got to get myself one of these, and I have to put it through its paces to figure out, if this noise thing is happening, why is it happening? And I threw it on the tank without really taking much time to adjust it. Didn't have the cord in its proper spot yet or anything like that. Flipped it on, and sure enough, I did hear this, it sounded initially like, and actually it just always sounded like a lawnmower going on the other side of your neighborhood. Like, on the when it would ramp to different speeds. So I was like, okay, this must be the noise, and I hadn't heard that with the DMP 20 or 30 or 40. So I was like, I got to troubleshoot this thing, and put my hand in the water and started adjusting that wet side and moving it around and twisting it and just pausing and listening and pausing and listening. It took a little bit of patience. It took me probably a minute. And then I got it into a position in conjunction with the dry side magnet where it was just silent. It was just completely quiet. I could just hear that whispering whir. So then I left it alone for a little bit, and I did notice that at the top of the unit, there was a little bit of a gap. And I was like, you know what? This is 1/4 inch thick glass right here. I bet you the magnet, because the DMP-10 was a product that Jebao sort of went out on a limb with, because there was no vortex smaller than the size of the DMP-20. But they actually went out on a limb and created a smaller iteration for smaller tanks, which is really cool. The problem with that is you don't have as much real estate to put magnets in that thing. So I think probably the magnetism of the DMP-10 is a little bit weaker than its bigger brothers. And I also think that because they're compact and because it was probably a little bit of a whole tighter thing to make this device, you do need to pay more attention to how well the wet side is coupled magnetically with the dry side. And I think you do probably need to give it a little bit of support with the stuff they include in the bag or in the box. You need to give, via that cord, you need to give it a nice taut cord attachment so that it is propping this thing up against the tank properly. It's not going to fall. The suction cups made it so that it was certainly not going to fall away. But the tighter that fit is on the side, just like it is right there, totally flush to the glass, I think that's going to also eliminate any of that distant lawnmower noise that people, just a few people have told me they've heard. I've had lots of other people tell me that their DMP-10 is dead silent. When I just threw mine on, like I said, I did hear a little bit of noise, and it's dead silent now that I slowed down, took my time, really made sure everything was attached properly and that magnetic coupling was on there perfectly. So if you are hearing noise with the DMP-10, those are the steps that I would take. Slow down, be patient, make sure everything is in its proper place, make sure you adjust the wet side, and if you still hear noise, I would do one last thing before I started, bothering the AliExpress shop to, take a return. What I would do is let the thing run at 50%, 75% constant speed. Just let it run and see if just over time maybe there's some little bit of plastic inside of it that needs to kind of work its way out, or I don't know really how these things work, but I have heard people talk about kind of like breaking in a skimmer, breaking in a new Wavemaker. So maybe you let it run for a few days and see if it doesn't, kind of break in for you. Those are the steps that I would take. And I would keep in mind, I've had a couple people be really frustrated about stuff, about dealing with shops on Ali and stuff like that. Keep in mind, guys, it is like an $80 to $100, depending on the price, Wavemaker. For the DMP-10, it's like, that's how much it is. Compared to the price of a MP10, I mean, this is really a totally budget deal, right? So they're mass produced. If there's some hitch in the giddy up, it's not something that would shock me. And in fact, I mean, I would pursue a return on Ali, but in addition to pursuing a return, I would just instantly order another one because you're still only a fraction of the way to the price of an MP10 or an MP40. I would just order another one and be like, that one must have had an issue with the tolerances or something like that. That's how I approach this. I don't really expect much service when I'm getting a pump that is a quarter or a third of the price of the competition. So anyhow, just wanted to help people who might, be throwing a DMP-10 on the tank, and initially their reaction is like, why can I hear a fluttering noise? Like, I hear this like faint fluttering noise. What is this? I think that it is because these really require a little bit more patience. They're probably the weak point of the 4 DMPs, because I've heard no such issue, and I have had no such issue with the DMP 20, 30, and 40. The DMP 20, 30, and 40 have been rock solid. I don't even spend that much time lining up the wet side or worrying about it, and they just are quiet and awesome. So, if you guys have any questions, let me know. But I figured I would address it, and I will have more videos on the DMP line out shortly. I'm working hard on it. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.